So it looks like Wi-Fi signals are going to be getting better according to this article, and it looks like they're going to be rolling out a new gigahertz band when it actually comes to Wi-Fi. And of course, that is great news since so many of us actually rely on Wi-Fi day in and day out for our everyday activities when it comes to the internet. And according to this article, it looks like they actually want to increase the gigahertz band to 6 gigahertz. Right now in the world of Wi-Fi and the internet and routers and things like that, we only have two different types of gigahertz bands right now. We have 2.4 gigahertz and we do have 5 gigahertz, but with both bands there is some trade-offs here. You can see 2.4 gigahertz travels farther, but I think 2.4 gigahertz travels farther, but at the cost of speed. And then 5 gigahertz gives you a lot of speed, but at the cost of reliability. It won't travel. It won't travel as far, like with things like walls and structures and things like that. It's just not that good. So there are some trade-offs. Do you want faster speeds at the cost of your connection not being as stable, or do you want something with slower speed but at the cost of your connection actually being greater? I never really understood those limitations when it comes to 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, but I guess that's just the way it is when it comes to those gigahertz bands, and that was always the limitations. But outside of that, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi are still extremely reliable and still extremely fast. I think for most people out there, they're not going to have a problem with their Wi-Fi speeds, but it looks like, again, according to this article, they actually want to make the biggest improvement to Wi-Fi in about 20 years, and that's actually insane because we haven't really heard any news about them wanting to upgrade the Wi-Fi signals and things like that. It's always been recently in the last couple of years about, oh, mobile connections, like let's go from 4G to 5G speeds on your smartphone and things like that when you're actually out. So it is nice that they are actually trying to upgrade the Wi-Fi speeds and overall make the Wi-Fi a little bit more stronger and a little bit more faster for everybody. According to this website, it does state that even though we may be getting a brand new one in the near future, since they already passed it and it is certified that we could be going to the 6 gigahertz band, just keep in mind it's not going to be that much of a big upgrade compared to what we already have when it comes to our Wi-Fi speeds and our Wi-Fi reliability. It's going to be pretty much the same, but overall, regardless, it's still going to be an improvement. Any improvement is better than nothing, of course, and that does mean it will make our lives a little bit more better, especially regarding the internet. So I am very excited about that. One thing I am very curious about as well, when they go to the 6 gigahertz band, what type of limitations are we actually going to have? Is it going to be reliable both in speed and connectivity, or is it going to have trade-offs like 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz? And also keep in mind, of course, since this thing is passed, who knows how long it'll actually take before we can actually start using 6 gigahertz. And as we speak right now, when it comes to the world of the internet and when it comes to electronical devices that do use Wi-Fi, of course, like your smartphone, your tablets, your laptops, your gaming systems, and things like that, nothing could actually use the 6 gigahertz band right now. Of course, they would have to make new electronics like smartphones, tablets, gaming systems to actually fully utilize the 6 gigahertz band. So it wouldn't matter if this thing was actually already out on the market. It wouldn't do you any good just because none of your devices could actually utilize 6 gigahertz as we speak. But it looks like the future of the internet is going to be getting better, and honestly, this is some pretty great news regarding Wi-Fi and things like that. So we'll have to wait and see when this will actually be rolled out, what devices will actually support the 6 gigahertz band. Will you still use the 6 gigahertz band, or will you still have to use things like 2.4 and 5 gigahertz because there may be some limitations with the 6 gigahertz band and things like that? But very interesting that they are looking for a brand new band for Wi-Fi, since we've had the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz band for so many years. This is just very interesting news that pretty much we are going to be getting better Wi-Fi signals as a whole with this new 6 gigahertz band, which is actually pretty interesting. Now, next up, let's talk about the Apple Airpods, because it looks like there is a rumor floating around about how the Apple Airpods aren't going to be getting a brand new version this year. But I guess I'm not really too surprised about that if you think about it, just because we already got an update to the AirPods 1, I think last year maybe, or the year before. And then of course last year in October 2019, we did get a brand new version of the AirPods completely. We got the brand new AirPods Pro, and you guys know with the AirPods Pro are a pretty big step up compared to the original AirPods. The original AirPods are pretty good for a true wireless earbuds, but just the fact they decided to take those up a notch by adding things like active noise canceling, making the fit a little bit better. Overall, they are, like the name implies, the pro version of the AirPods. One thing I am kind of disappointed at, if this rumor is actually true, is the fact that the original AirPods, the AirPods that originally came out, the updated version of the AirPods really didn't add all too much. Unless you really want more features, you really have to go to the AirPods Pro. But the AirPods 2 that pretty much looked like the AirPods 1, the original model, didn't really add anything. They added, I think, like a wireless charging case. They made it easier for you to access Siri. I think outside of that, it was practically the same earphone, the same earbuds, and that was actually kind of disappointing for so many people out there. But I guess the price did reflect that. The price didn't really change. It was pretty much the same product. So overall, I would actually like to see Apple actually introduce like an AirPods 3 that take this design and maybe keep it but add some features at like the lower price point, because now if you want a lot of the better features, of course you do have to upgrade to the AirPods Pro, and not everybody can afford the AirPods Pro. Of course they do that so that you have an incentive to actually go to their much more premium headphones outside of the original AirPods or the AirPods 2. They want you to jump up to the AirPods Pro. But what I'm actually thinking is maybe they'll add some features like active noise canceling, or add something to this to make it a worthwhile update. And I actually think the AirPods 2 actually really do need a slight update, just because the design's old and they didn't really add anything from the first one. It's about time. And it does suck. It does say the next generation AirPods might be coming in early 2021. But then I guess, like I said again, it's not that big a deal since we already got AirPods Pro last year. So you already have another option if you want to buy something that is going to be better than the slightly outdated AirPods 2 that weren't even really an update from the AirPods 1, which is actually interesting. So sorry about all you fans who may have wanted some brand new AirPods in 2020. It looks like this may not be happening. Again, keep in mind, every time I talk about all this stuff in the tech world, it's always rumors and speculations at this point, so who knows if a lot of this stuff is true. But most likely most of this stuff now is really accurate, just because they have some insider information. Things get leaked out on the internet. There's just ways to tell a lot of times that a lot of this stuff is true. And if this is true, this does kind of suck, but at least you still have something, the AirPods Pro, so it's not like you couldn't get a better version if you're still using like the AirPods 1 or the AirPods 2 and you actually wanted to upgrade from one of those models. Now it looks like we got some Xbox news here. It looks like Xbox Gamepass is going to be getting Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's very nice news considering a lot of other services, especially Nvidia GeForce Now, is actually losing games by the minute, which is actually pretty sad, and it kind of sucks for that service. But yes, it looks like Xbox Gamepass is coming to Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming to Xbox Gamepass. And if you know anything about open world games this generation or of all time, this is easily one of the best open world games of all time, without a doubt. It's the graphics look amazing, the NPCs are amazing, the world's amazing. Overall, this game is amazing. But of course, that makes sense. It's made from one of the biggest and best developers out there. Who makes games, of course, Rockstar, which Rockstar, of course, is known to make Grand Theft Auto, and Grand Theft Auto is an amazing game. Overall, this is some pretty nice news. I just really wanted to talk about this, not so much about Red Dead Redemption 2 coming to Gamepass in May, but more so about the fact that it really does seem like every time they add new games to Gamepass really does seem like it's one of those deals that you really do have to pretty much buy at this point. It's like a no-brainer here. It's only $10 a month for pretty much unlimited access to unlimited games, and it is an amazing service. And I just wanted to talk about the future of gaming as well, because I really do think the future of gaming at this point is actually something like a Games Pass, because it makes sense. No longer would we actually buy games. Why would we buy games? Because games are expensive, and if we were to buy games at $60 a piece, of course everything racks up. So it makes much more sense for us to be paying like subscription fees speed for all these games that we have access to, and we paid on a monthly to monthly basis. And it makes sense because it's good for the actual company, because that means they're getting a reoccurring payment each and every month. So of course it's better off than having that one-time payment of you just buying the game for $60 and calling it a day. And of course a lot of these devs who put their games on Games Pass, of course, does get cut a little bit of the cut, of course, when their games are on Game Pass. So it's not like they're not making any money themselves, if that actually makes sense. But yeah, it really does seem like right now, with everything that's on Game Pass and everything that's coming to Game Pass, like Red Dead Redemption 2, if you're an Xbox owner, or if you're even a PC owner who has a gaming PC, why wouldn't you actually buy Games Pass at this time? It'll pay for itself, especially if you are a big gamer. That $10 a month fee would be nice. You can check out games that maybe you normally wouldn't play, and have some experiences like that and things like that. So overall, this is actually some pretty big news actually regarding what's coming to Games Pass, because like I said, this is again one of the best open world games this generation, or not if of all time. This game is just a phenomenal game. Me personally, I have played this game a little bit, and what I can say is my first impressions when I played this game, I was actually blown away by the graphics, the storytelling, just overall. Rockstar knows how to hit it out the park when it comes to their IPs and when it comes to their game franchises. Red Dead Redemption 2 is without a doubt a must-play. It's almost a 10 out of 10, to be honest, with this game. An amazing game for what it is, and now you'll get the chance to experience it if you own Game Pass, and it will be coming in May, so it'll be coming pretty much in a couple of weeks prior to this recording, which is actually pretty nice for all you Game Pass fans. Now, the next one is actually about the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. So you guys know the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip just came out like a couple months ago, and that's actually a pretty interesting phone. Nowadays, it's always a lot of talk about these foldable phones, and these foldable phones are actually pretty interesting. Because there's something that we've never seen when it comes to technology, or when it comes to just different designs, and it is pretty cool that we are getting a lot of these foldable phones. But one of the biggest questions people keep asking with these foldable phones, they keep asking, what's the use case for these foldable phones? What can you actually do with these foldable phones? Is it like just a gimmick to smartphones, or is there actually some practicality towards it? And of course, especially more so with the Galaxy Z Flip than the original Galaxy Fold, there's actually less practicality, because really all it is a regular phone folded down. I guess the only thing that you can say is, well, it's a phone that's actually more portable than a regular smartphone, which is actually true. And I can say that you will be getting probably slightly more portability out of it, just because it can fold and you can probably put it in your pocket maybe slightly easier and things like that. But outside of that, it really doesn't seem like it's all that useful as a foldable phone. You can make the case for the Galaxy Fold that came out last year, just because that phone was a tablet and a phone all in one. So maybe if you wanted a bigger screen and you wanted to multitask more, or maybe do more productivity type deals on your smartphone, that one actually made sense. But this one, just like I said again, seems like a regular normal smartphone just folded down. But now it looks like there may actually be more use cases for the Galaxy Z Flip and the actual folding aspect of the phone. A lot of people, when they actually showed off the Galaxy Z Fold, a lot of people would actually put it on a countertop or a tabletop or something like a desk and actually fold it like kind of like a laptop, and then they would take the hinge and just put it down like they were actually essentially using a laptop. Now it looks like one of the actual app manufacturers, or one of the companies, is actually going to be making use of the fold for the Galaxy Z Flip, and this is actually pretty interesting, because now it makes this thing have a little bit more functionality, and it kind of answers the question, what can you do with the fold with a lot of these different devices? Well, it looks like one of the companies, I think, YouTube has actually released a new update to take advantage of the Galaxy Z Flip's flex mode, allowing the app to split the screen in two halves, and it tries to pretty much make it symmetrical by actually having the video play at top and then the rest of it at the bottom, so you can kind of get that laptop-esque feel with this thing. That's kind of cool that they're kind of basing the UI around how the phone could be used, and it's trying to actually answer the question, what do these things actually do, and what is the practicality of having a device that actually folds? Will this be a game changer? I personally think that there needs to be more done with a lot of these folding phones. I think there's not too much. There's not too much things you can do with foldable phones right now. This is a step in the right direction, of course, at least when a company releases an update like this to their mobile application that actually takes advantage of a lot of these foldable phones. It's a hope for the future that more app manufacturers or more developers who develop applications will actually make their apps based around a lot of these folding phones. But also the problem with a lot of these folding phones is the market for these things is still very not that big, basically, so it's like less incentive for a lot of these developers to actually be developing their apps based around foldable phone technology, just because there's not too many people, honestly, when you look at how many people use smartphones that actually use things like foldable phones, that maybe a lot of developers are like, well, we won't waste our time actually making a specific version or putting code in our application to take advantage of these foldable phones, just because, well, there's not too much of a market for these. We'll have to wait until the market actually grows, and we'll see by then. But overall, this is still promising, and this is still cool that YouTube, of all applications, decided to make their application based off of the fold of the Galaxy Z Fold, which is actually nice. It looks like not too much information on this actual update for the Galaxy Z Fold, but it looks like basically it'll just detect when you actually have it in this in this in this orientation, and once you have the phone in this orientation where it's like you have it like halfway unfolded, then basically what will happen is it'll go into this mode, I do believe, where the part top will just be the video and the bottom will just be the like your comment section, your likes and dislikes, recommended, up next, and things like that. Still overall pretty cool, and it can actually be useful, like if you put your Galaxy Z Flip like on a desktop, like on a tabletop or a counter or like a desk. It can be extremely useful, and this is actually pretty cool that they're actually doing this. And I think this may be the first application, correct me if I'm wrong, that actually is taking notice of these foldable phones. YouTube is. I'm sure there's other developers out there on the market space, like in Android, that are actually going to be invested in trying to make use cases out of these foldable devices. But this is the first I've heard of any big company actually making their UI based around a foldable phone. And honestly, again, this makes me super excited and super happy, actually, just because now it looks like devs might be noticing these phones more and actually making their applications based around these foldable phones. And it's actually good that they're actually doing this instead of just keeping their application just a normal like application just for foldable phones, because like I said again before, we're really trying to find a use case for all of these foldable phones. So anytime we can try to utilize how the phone folds and the extra screen real estate and things like that, overall it makes these foldable phones have much more of a purpose than they did before. And that's pretty much going to be it for me and this episode. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.